I want to do this, I want to do that, but I just can't seem to find the energy or motivation to do this. Is this you? Well, don't worry. Today I'm going to go through 6 tips on how you can get yourself to work that little bit harder. Welcome back to my channel, The Self-Esteem and Confidence Mindset, with me, Johnny Pardo, here to help you boost your self-esteem and confidence. If you want a range of videos on self-esteem and confidence, then you can subscribe to my channel or hit the bell to be notified every time I release a new video, every Tuesday and Thursday. Recently, I've been asked a lot, Johnny, how do you work so hard? You get through so much. And yes, I juggle writing, I juggle coaching, speaking, my day project management jobs, keeping fit, socialising, which has obviously helped. It's been helped, but not in a good way, by the fact we're in lockdown because less things like going to the pub and football have been reduced. But even then, before then, I used to balance all those things. Yes, but it's because I want to work on myself every day, and I do sometimes need to have more breaks, but I do have breaks and I have fun doing what I do. So what's this got to do with confidence before I go into these tips? Well, when you start achieving more, you'll start getting more results. Now, obviously, when we take action, it's not always guaranteed we get the result we want. But if we take more action continuous, we're going to get more result. And as Tony Robbins says, take massive action. I'm trying to do his voice then. Wasn't very good. But if we can do more, it's going to get us results, and that's going to build confidence. Okay, let's dive in to these 6 tips that I wanted to share with you today. Tip number 1, you've got to really love what you do. I've written 7 books. My latest one was The Self-Esteem and Confidence Mindset. Before that, it was You Are More Than That. So those were my last 2, which were personal growth books, and one very niche on self-esteem and confidence, obviously in line with this channel and my podcast. But before that, my first 5, I was hardly getting any book purchases or downloads, and I'm still improving it now. But why did I write that many books without getting sales? It's because I love writing. I love the creative process. I love thinking of ideas and then sharing it with everyone. That's just me. I love doing it. So you've got to really, really love what you're doing, because then you're going to be able to work for it. If you're just doing something for the money, there's less of a chance you're going to continue. But you've got to find what you really, really love. And that might take a little bit of exploration. It's okay not to know, but it's not okay to not go looking for it. But what do I do when I've got harder tasks or things I don't like but I have to do? Don't worry, I'm going to cover that in the next 5 tips. Tip number 2, writing it down and accountability. When we write something down, it shows we're more likely to achieve it. And I think there was a study in Harvard, when some graduates left Harvard University, there was about 3 to 5% of them who wrote their goals down, and then everyone else didn't. And the people who wrote their goals down, as opposed to the 95% who didn't, were more likely to achieve their goals or had achieved their goals. So that shows one thing. But then go a step further. Think about being accountable to other people. We want to be consistent with what we say we're going to do. And if we've got a real strong accountability partner or group, like I've set up and got in place, then we're more likely to be consistent with what we set up. So I've set myself some really high goals this week. And sometimes in the past, I would have just gone, no, I'll slip that on to next week. But I've given myself a deadline by the end of the week. I've written them down, and I've told my group that I'm going to try and achieve this by the end of the goal. So that makes me want to do it. So this applies to my day job as well. I enjoy my day job, but sometimes there are some quite tedious tasks I don't want to do. But it's quite easy for me to just roll them onto continuous weeks because people at work trust me to do them, but I could roll on things forever. So I give myself an accountability partner at work as well. I was like catching myself out and saying, right, I'm going to achieve this by the end of the week, rather than letting it roll on. So That's my second tip. Write down what you want to achieve and be accountable to someone or a group. Tip number 3 builds on from what I just said. You've written something down, you're accountable to someone, but now think about a reward and a punishment or takeaway. And what I mean by this, I've talked about this in the previous video, but you might not have seen it, is give yourself a reward like it sounds for achieving what you set yourself out to each week. So it might be a new jumper, it might be a new bag, might be a new purse, might be a new video game, might be a new movie, might even be a spa treatment, probably not so much in lockdown, but it could be any treat. Reward yourself with something. And then on the other hand, if you don't do something, take something away that you like doing, like your favorite TV show or coffee. Oh, coffee. This drives me every time. I say, if I can't achieve my goals within my control over a week, then I will not be allowed coffee for a week. Now that is a driver. So I've got a reward of maybe a new jumper and no coffee if I don't do them. So those are 2 things driving me. So think about what your reward and punishments could be and tell that to your accountability group, because these 3 things, writing it down, being accountable, reward and punishment, okay, that's 4 things, really driving you to do something, but make sure your goals are realistic as well. My question for you today is, what motivates you to work harder? Just leave your suggestions in the comments below. Tip number 4, tracking. What is measured improves. I've heard this so many times in the last 6 months, but before this, it's one of those things you hear for the first time and you hear it everywhere. I've heard it in my business breakthrough group, I've heard it at Tony Robbins events. It's brilliant, but yeah, if you're writing something down and you're tracking it every day, you're more likely to achieve it. So I talked about writing it down, but if you've got sheets and you're looking at what you're trying to achieve over and over again, you're reminding yourself you need to do it, rather than these New Year's resolutions. We say we're going to do it at the start of the year and then we forget about it. If you're tracking and reviewing something regularly, you're more likely to do it. And this is the same with successful companies. There's research shown that successful companies are regularly monitoring what they're doing and looking at it month by month. But some businesses who've not made what they set out to do, they set a target at the beginning of the year and then they review it like 2-3 months before the end of the year. What happens for the rest of the year? So make sure you're tracking what you want to achieve and regularly reviewing it, because that's going to keep you more connected to the reality and more likely to remind you you need to do it, rather than just going, oh, I forgot again, and giving up on it. Tip number 5, look at inspirational examples. People who have worked hard and got where they want to be. Think about someone who could be a role model for where you want to get to, and think about what they've achieved. A great example I'm going to use is Dean Graziosi. I've just finished one of his other books this morning, Underdog Advantage, which is really, really good. He was dyslexic at school. His teachers told him he wouldn't amount to anything. He wrote his first book. They told him he needs to rewrite it. He is now a millionaire, and that book, he then went and published it, got another editor, and it became a New York Times bestseller. So there's an example of someone working really hard that you can use. So think of other examples and keep looking at them and referencing them to motivate you to work harder. Tip number 6 is give yourself a break. Now, I've talked a lot about hard work in this, but it's really important we give ourselves a break. Now, I need to work on this a little bit more sometimes. I get caught out for it because I'm a bit of a workhorse. But I do take a break so I can have a breathe and go again. I've got lots of these other factors in place. I've also got a strong why I'm doing what I do. I strongly believe that self-esteem and confidence is really vital for the world, because when we feel our best selves, we impact on other people. So I've got a real good driver to do it as well. I didn't talk about the why, but I've talked about the why a lot before. But it's really important to take a break as well. Have a refresher, get enough sleep, go for a walk, hang out with your friends, because if we work too hard, we crash and then we lose that interest, we lose that focus. So make sure you give yourself a break as well. Working hard doesn't just mean working hard to knocking yourself out. It means just becoming more productive by putting measures in place, talking to people, writing things down, tracking them, all the tips I've talked about, but making sure you take a break as well so you don't exhaust yourself. So implement some of this, because when you start working harder, you're more likely to get results. And when you get better results, you're going to get more confidence like I've done. So I hope that's been useful for you today. If you've perhaps got a challenge and you don't know what the next steps are, you want to be a bit more accountable, you can't break things down, everything seems a little bit overwhelming, then you can drop me an email, coaching@johnnypardo.com, where we can have a look at whether my one-to-one coaching can be beneficial for you for getting you closer towards your goals. Thank you very much for watching today. I really appreciate you. If you've liked today's video, then be sure to give this video a like, or you can subscribe to my channel for more videos like this, where I release a new video every Tuesday and Thursday. Remember, never skip Self-Esteem Day. I appreciate you, and I'll catch you in the next video.